Oh my god. An entire week of grinding out and getting these yellow tiles as much as we could. And in the final reset, we've made it! We actually did it! Mr. Peanut Butter Jelly, you rascal. Or I guess it was mainly painting, but essentially, we just managed to get the 200 horns that we needed for this first week of the event to finish off the Peanut Butter Jelly collection. And since I need to leave the house in like 20 minutes, I am just going to, activate everything. We're gonna hatch painting and we're gonna unlock peanut butter jelly because why not? Screw it. We're not getting full value. I don't care. Painting. Get your ass out here. Nice looking egg, I have to say. Painting does have a very nice egg. But, I don't care. We already have painting. Don't care about you. We just want the collection done. Oh, I swear, this is going to be like the most stressful part of this event by far. Just peanut butter jelly. But there we go. You have successfully finished the buttery collection and earned a reward. You got the Pbj Dragon. So he is just a random epic. He's not useful for anything, but a dragon that we've never managed to get before. We actually finished this collection. It is kind of disappointing that we're not going to be able to spend those horns on premium sigil chests, which is kind of a shame, but, I will take a new epic. That is also fine. But I hath returned, and this is a new week, which means we do have new events and such ongoing. We have new dungeon week, and unsurprisingly, we actually have what I believe is Void Week this week. So of course we get Burnout Week into Void Week. And if you are ever confused as to which dungeon week it is, you can just use the DML Wiki's set of dungeon opponent pools to take a look. And I'm pretty sure in the first three it was Burger, Chef, and Bunt. So it would be week or pool 5 for this week. So that's a lot of Void Dragons into a few Earth Dragons, Water Dragons, things like that. But it's primarily Void, some Plant, and stuff like that. So it is an annoying week, definitely, because some of them do have the ability to zuck you, and there are some energy dragons that come up, and like pipe dragons, when they come up, yeah, they're gonna murder you. So, fantastic dungeon week start. Of course, we've also got the solo adventure going on where you can get your hands on Gaio, which either you can get him, we've got event currency for the board, and we've also got an apple in the leaderboard as usual, but that depends on whether you're doing the solo event. I'm probably not, but, we continue on with our ancient event stuff, and so far I've got like 234 tickets, which is okay. It's not an insane amount, but we did have Burnout Week in the first week. This week we've got Void Week, which is probably going to be slightly better and slightly easier for me. It does depend on your team, really, and what you've got going, but generally, it's going to be slightly less risky than Burnout Weeks. Burnout Week, it just sucks. The other thing that I had a little bit earlier was a lot of arena energy to get using. And, I was going to save it to the truly optimal moment, probably the start of next season, which would be next week. But I'm just bored of waiting. So instead, what I'm actually going to do is I am just going to go on a big win streak instead. You think I won't? I will. Because, now our dragons have been slightly upgraded. I did mention it before, but to sort of change my dungeon scaling, I did level up my Nezha and Erlang Shen dragons, and my Imroja got an extra enchantment star, and Imroja actually got 2 epic sigils, which I'm still going to play around with it a little bit. But it does mean that now Ikez gets ×2 KOs in the dungeon. And on top of that, now we can actually use Ikez in our main team if we want to, because he's not like severely underleveled or anything anymore. He is part of our top 3. So technically my top 3 now is Imroja, Nezha, and Erlang Shen. But I don't really have a need for Erlang Shen anymore. I mean, don't get me wrong, Erlang Shen could be very useful with his metal in the dungeon, especially if you want to get some, like, extra KOs at the end of a run, in the early stages of a week. But in terms of arena, even though Erlang Shen can be really good, at the same time, I think just getting the bigger bless from Imroja is more important. But the other thing that I did want to mention by going through and doing this win streak is that if you are a newer player, or say a mid-game player, and you're actually thinking about, you know, making a good team, a team that's suitable for everything, because, you know, we might not have dungeon-orientated events after this anymore. Well, if you have ever thought that people in the arena, even at the highest dragon level in the arena, are going to have really tough teams, well, technically this is Divine Arena, the one before Ancient, just because I haven't been doing that many arena fights because, you know, I've been hoarding my energy since Primal event. But just look at some of these teams. And now, that's not for me to just hate on all the players that you see, but just think about some of these teams that you see coming up. And think about how useful they actually are. Some of the sigils on them, the actual dragons that people are using. It's pretty eye-opening, because these are some of the longest playing players of the game. They're obviously people that may have spent lots of money in the past, or maybe just in general they've invested a lot of time into this game. And very, very few of them actually have what I would consider an acceptable sigil combination. And even then, occasionally in the arena, you might even end up seeing, like, a legendary turtle user. And I guess this is just me showcasing you that even though I can be at the top arena levels, this is why having good sigils on your dragons is so important. Because, like, with my sigil comps, this isn't even strictly speaking an arena team with these three. This is just a general all-rounder team. But as long as we've got the right sigils on our dragons, we can beat any team comp. And obviously I can swap my dragons around before we go against specific teams or anything like that. But, like, you'll see some of these teams with, like, Purity Defiance. You'll see some teams with Daredevil Turtle. You see a lot of teams with, say, Rebirths, and it just doesn't make any sense. What are these teams? These are the arena teams. These are people's top dragons that we're seeing. I cannot fathom why. And now, 100% I understand that if someone doesn't want to be optimal and pick the air quotes best sigils in the game, they have absolutely no obligation to. And 100% if you just enjoy playing the game, however it is, power to you. You go crazy with your turtle sigils. But I know full well some of these names that I end up seeing, and these are players that genuinely think that these sigil combinations are good, and these dragon picks are good. And so far, in all of these battles I've just done, I don't think we've actually seen a single good team so far. One, not even a perfect team, I'm just saying an okay team. And so I think this is part of the problem that a lot of players have, especially newer players, and those that, you know, don't look out for resources for how to get better at the game, because they just end up putting on random sigils on their dragons. Like, why does this guy have a samurai dragon as their main three? Maybe they just really love the samurai dragon, in which case, you know, I'm not going to complain. But you've also got to remember that these dragons are like level 100 plus. All of them. All of them. Some of them are max level. Some of them even have sacred apples used on them. It's just absolutely wild. Like, why does the Simroja have rebirth witchcraft? It's nonsensical. It hurts. It really does hurt. And again, this isn't to hate on anyone in particular, because they may have various reasons why they've picked these sigils. But if you are a newer player, or even a returning player that is coming back to the game, if you have a team like that, with just random ass dragons with basically random sigils on them, you're going to have an awful time when you're trying to do dungeon runs and when you're trying to do arena. This team here, you can see that they've tried to prioritize damaging sigils and evasion for some reason. But the thing is, with evasion, we can just counter that with AoE. It's not scary, and then we can just keep shielding up and things like that, and they can't do anything. Evasion as a sigil, I get the idea as to why people want to use it, but when it's got a hard counter in the form of AoE, it becomes basically useless. So maybe you think evasion's like the best sigil ever for arena, but seriously, it's easy to deal with. It's really easy to deal with, and luckily I've got Ikez that's got 2 different types of AoE to take them on. If you have light on your team, even, you're going to have a really easy time against some of these players that are just obsessed with evasion sigils. But it's like, is it really so hard to just get, like, I mean, we've got a witchcraft acceptance Pokra there. That could be worse, right? But you just don't see people with good teams. That's not to say that the AI is going to use Bless and, you know, Leech properly, because it won't. But there's just so few teams. Like, I mean, we've got our God Ceremony here at max level. I cannot fault them for that. That was my dream. Maybe one day we'll still achieve it. But look, we've got a Wonder Acceptance RER here. That's fantastic for them. You know, at least you can see that some thought went into it. The other 2 were bad. But, you know, if you want to get good value out of this game, and in particular in arena, in dungeon, things like that, it's the sort of thing that you have to be aware of. And if you don't use sigils at all, you're going to have a horrible time in the arena. Like, I don't think you can actually win without having sigils anymore. I think it would be impossible now. At least at max level dragons, obviously, but it's just really bizarre. It's so bizarre seeing some of these combinations. I can't imagine that all of them just threw them on randomly. It just feels like that. It's, you know, if they're happy, I guess that's all that matters, but, you know, this is, oh my god, we have an actual team, look at them, oh my god. Wait, why does the Ancient have, why does Yoskar have Wonder Acceptance? It was so close! It was so close to being right. Oh my days. Well look, I'll accept that one, it's okay. That should have been a witchcraft instead of the Wonder there. But you know, this is why team building is so important if you want to get good value out of this game, because it is a pay-to-win game. It is. But if you got the right team and you got the right dragons together, you don't have to spend money. We are actually coming up on 12 months since the last time that I made a purchase in this game. And we should still be able to, as long as I log in for the board resets, should still be able to get Neil. I guess we'll find out, see if I can be bothered, or if anything comes up that stops me from doing that. But just in general, this was just another showcase that even if you think your team is bad and say you don't have any divines yet or anything, trust me, it could be worse. You could have level 120 dragons, they could be 3 random rares, and they could have these sort of sigils. Because it doesn't matter whether you have divines or ancients, to be honest. You still need Wonder Acceptance on any of your shielders and things like that, if you want to do well in the dungeon. If you don't want to do well in the dungeon, then genuinely speaking, probably Purity Daredevil would be your best option for just a, like, stupid, I'm gonna go and kill stuff arena comp. At least that's really good in the sigil map for certain fights. For the non-evasion fights, Purity Daredevil is actually pretty decent for sigil map stuff, but, you know, I see some of these dragons, and that's the thing, these people could have so much good stuff happening in their team. And then you see this, and they must be having an awful time. You know what I mean? Like in the dungeon and everything, because it must be scaled to these dragons. And if this is like their one main team, can you imagine trying to do dungeon with like a mirror chi Molim? Well, either way, you know, you get to see just how easy it is to defeat these teams anyway, just because the AI is not exactly fantastic. But at least you get to see this arena level, if it's something you've never been able to see before, and just an example of how incredibly easy it is. Again, my dragons, the others that aren't Enroger, aren't even max level at this point, and Enroger's not fully enchanted either. And you could still beat literally anyone, just with Wonder Acceptance and Bless and Leech. So this is the reason why I tell people to use it, because Wonder Acceptance isn't just good for the dungeon, it's good for Arena. It's insane for Arena as well. The only exception would be if you go against like Purity Daredevil in the first slot and say they've got Burnout. Then you're going to be in for a hard time. Or if they use something and it frightens your second dragon, for instance, and you just can't really do anything. But that would be the only exception, like Legendary Purity Daredevil in first slot, in which case it would probably either be a case of trying to put the shield up or just trying to deal damage first. But either that or you just take a 1 dragon loss and then win anyway. There are ways of dealing with it. It doesn't come up very often because obviously Legendary Sigils. But like, we got another basically commons team here. It's bewildering, but don't feel bad about your own team. These are some of the longest playing players in the game with max level dragons, and this is what their teams look like. So, if anything, you should feel good about yourself if you've ever even tried to come up with some sort of team comp, because it feels like a lot of players really don't. So, if you are going with like the Wonder Acceptance, Witchcraft Acceptance, Purity Acceptance on, say, a random damage dragon, you're gonna be ahead of the curve as it is. So, you know, I guess we will sit here with my 29,000 points. Of course, I'd love to get into Ancient League before season end just to see what our rank would be. But, you know, getting 32 wins in a row, I think it was 32, you know, it's okay. If I wanted to maximize my gems and that. There's 6 people here. We've utterly annihilated them. Anyway. Oh, 35 wins even. My god. I feel bad for those people. They probably think I'm really paid to win. I'm not. But anyway, now that the arena stuff is done, I'm going to keep hoarding for a little bit longer. We're going to do more of our dungeon stuff. We're going to continue on with the dragon board and maybe get our hands on a DATS. You know, if you want to give me a full drop game, that's fine. I'll be more than happy. But I can actually start saving my currency now, since last week was really close with PBJ. There's no collection for us to have to complete this week, so should be a nice and chill week, apart from the solo event, logging in and stuff, but I'm probably not going to finish that anyway, so for now, we await the arrival of Mr. PBJ, another 12.5 hours, and he shall be here, and that will mark dragon number 760, and then we will be on our way to 800 again. But anywho's, I appreciate you joining me here today, and until next time, best of luck with the ancient event.